Well, welcome everyone. Happy 2023. It's great to be back once again with another exciting year ahead of us. We're starting it off with KoreSummit Real Estate. Of course, we're talking about the Jobs Act. I think it's important that we understand all the regulations the Jobs Act has actually implemented, modified in order to give more of us the ability to raise capital from a larger audience, but more importantly, a playbook, a starting point on how to do it correctly. And then, of course, real estate, Jobs Act, and tokenization. There isn't a day that goes by that you don't see that word flying around on the internet, on articles and blogs. What is all the chatter about tokenization and what does it mean? I know the terminology that it was often used is called liquidity. But we need to be careful with that because we don't want to mislead anyone that it's instant liquidity. But tokenization does offer some great ways for investors at large to be able to do things they couldn't do in the past in a more efficient way. And that's where tokenization really has its values. So, but we're going to get started this week. It's going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every day at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to have some great speakers and they're going to walk you through the regulations. You're going to learn about how to do this correctly, compliantly. This is the important aspect of everything we do here is to make sure you do it compliantly, to make sure you do it in a way so you don't have to do a refund of investors' money or having to explain yourself to the regulators, either the SEC or FINRA, for the activities you've been undergoing. And it is an exciting time. 2023 is exciting. And one of my colleagues, one of our core partners, recently came out with an article. I think his title is fantastic. Real estate is not an alternative. It's a core investment. And when you look at the size of it, I mean, it's a $326 trillion sector, which includes stocks and bonds, of course, around the world. And so it goes to show you that there is a lot of activity. There's so many different models for real estate where sponsors can do direct offerings. They can work with syndicated broker dealers. You can use different regulations. That's correct. There are regulations that nobody thought was even possible to use for real estate, such as Regulation CF. And we're seeing some very interesting models in how that is delivered to clients, and such as LL series model using Regulation A+. So we're not only expanding the playfield for everyone, we're showing you how to do it compliantly. And the experts you will hear from this week, from the lawyers, the FINRA broker dealers, the investor acquisition firms, the SEC registered transfer agent, the secondary registered FINRA SEC ATS. You'll hear from them on how to do all of this in a way that you can help the investors, and of course for investors to know as well how this will help them invest in companies and how to spot a company that is doing a legitimate offering to for companies, how to prepare. What do you need? What should you be aware of? Why is there so much discussion going on in real estate? So that's the exciting journey that we will go through this week. And at any time that you have any questions, do not hesitate. Put in the chat there. We have individuals that will be moderating to bring those points to the speakers to be able to bring that discussion right there and then when you want that question to be answered. But the most important thing here is education. Education, education. You should be able to walk away from this and say, okay, I have a real estate project. I know what I need to do. I know what regulations I could potentially use. Here's some of the lawyers that I could speak to. And this is the broker dealers that have a specialty in this area. And this is how I can make it happen on my own terms. And that's the outcome that we always hope. So I hope you enjoy an enjoyable week. I hope you've stayed and asked questions. As well, I should remind everyone, if you want to meet any of our speakers, just simply go to KoreSummit.io, click on speakers. You will find their profile, you will find their LinkedIn link and their email address. So you can reach out to them as much as you like to answer your questions that are very specific to help you in your journey for your real estate project. So without much further ado, I have our great friend of mine, a colleague, Douglas. I believe you joined us. You got the technical issues sorted out.
Hopefully.
Oh, fantastic! It's great to have. Um, so Douglas, everyone, Douglas Ruark is the president, CEO, and founder of RegD Resources, who has been doing this for 23 years. So I got a question for you because, it in the 23 years, how what percentage would you think accounts to all the work that you've done in your firm?
I mean, easily 50%.
Wow.
Easily 50% is real estate, which is why I think this is just going to be such an impactful summit here. Is there are so many real estate operators that use these programs to raise capital, and then add in the tokenization aspect. Add in the fact that now you have the ability to have hybrid securities like tokens being sold through these offerings. So yeah, it's very impactful. And I think when you think about it, real estate syndicators, they're frequently out raising money, whether it's for a new fund, whether it's for a new development project. So they're always using these programs. And it'd be interesting to pitch the question to Nate Dodson, because obviously, he does a lot of this work as well. And I bet he probably would say the same thing, that probably 50% or more of his work is real estate.
Yeah, no, so it is. I mean, when Andrew Korn wrote that article, as he said, it's the core investment. So it's accounting for 50% of individual investors' investment dollars are going into real estate, and now different asset classes are being shown to everyone. Or maybe I shouldn't use that word. I should say that it's being given as an opportunity to more individuals that in the past didn't get a chance to invest. That would be correct, right?
Yeah, well, and I think too that's where Reg CF and Reg A Plus have become so impactful, because ultimately it's giving the entire investing public the ability to invest into these offerings. So CF and Reg A's, now you can generally solicit, you can raise money from everybody. You get that beautiful Core Connects 3-minute investment process that we all know and love. So it really is. These offerings now are reaching an entirely different audience, that where it used to be sophisticated, high net worth, accredited investors that would only get access to this stuff. Now it's the average everyday person. And I think too, real estate really fits in well here, because everybody can get their arms around real estate. And so I think as far as an asset class goes, it's that's where having a CF or Reg A in place, I think, really helps, because it is going to give you access to the entire investing public.
I agree. And for tokenization, I know the chatter, or not so much the chatter, the amount of information that's floating out there. One of the things that I'll tell everybody here, the audience, as you listen into this, I think it's always important to understand that when you look at capital raising and you look at tokenization, the starting point always must be, and it should always be, the regulation. The regulation will help you navigate which path you need to take. And I think this is an important message that needs to be getting across, rather than, oh, I want to tokenize, I want to use this chain, this protocol, and all that. No, that's the last space you want to start with. You want to start with, I want to use regulation A plus, regulation CF. Okay, what's my starting point? Or I want to use regulation D. What's my starting point? Because what you're going to find, depending on what regulation you use, you have very different starting points on what you can and cannot use based on the regulations. So this is kind of the unveiling that will happen here. If there's something we miss and something that comes up during the time that we're having these panels for you, please submit your questions. I promise you this, we will cover them in one form or another during this week, or with our panelists here. We will get you your answers. We want to truly help you get a better clarity in this market. So without any further ado, my colleague, Douglas Ruark, will present the very first panel for today, which is exciting because it really does start with them. It starts, you got to have a beginning to all of this. I think sometimes people just jump right into the market, but more importantly, we're going to start with why, and which is what Douglas and I have been doing this whole time, is talking about the why real estate. Well, we've talked about it from the tokenization, the regulations. The first panel, you're going to incorporate that with the lawyers, the broker dealer with Douglas and his vast experience, and colleagues like Richard Johnson as well. There's going to be a great discussion in this area regarding real estate and, of course, tokenization. So I'm going to leave you with this last few minutes before our panel gets started, because I think it's important. It's one that I get asked a lot, Doug, and I think you've asked me in the past, and because people talk about it in such a way that, I recently read an article. They're saying tokenization is the holy grail of real estate. And I get frustrated sometimes because I think for the audience, I know it can be confusing sometimes. And I've seen that. I see some of your questions that are coming in, and I understand that. And so let me give you kind of a really quick glimpse of tokenization, how you should separate it. It's actually separated into 3 different buckets. And this is going to help any investor out there or anybody looking to tokenization, blockchain, or anything like that. Bucket number 1, we call this the land titles bucket. So in the land titles today, land titles are managed by governments, regulatory bodies, and all that. If they adopt blockchain technology or any form of it in order to tokenize that real estate property and all, wow, by far the biggest game changer of all. Are there people working on that? The answer is yes. Is it there yet? The answer is no. Can a third-party company attempt to do it? The answer is yes, but ultimately land titles is owned and governed by countries and jurisdictions. So the likelihood is you're going to need to partner with them anyway. But that is a game changer. If we can start tokenizing every single piece of real estate sold and bought everywhere, boom, it changes. We won't have the issues we've seen where somebody can come and sell your house while you're away on holidays, which has happened with blockchain technology. That would be eliminated. The second use for blockchain and tokenization is when you have a property and you have rental income from it, and everything is tracked within blockchain, that immutability, that transparency. So as an investor, you're getting real-time information. When you tie the 2 together with land titles, wow, you got to, that's the ownership. You got land titles report. You eliminate the middleware of all the verification. And then on top of that, you have that immutability information on the value and the income that is generating. And the third piece is where it gets confusing. The third piece, I have this piece of real estate or I have this project and I need to raise capital. And people think that you can apply, the same scenario for land titles as you could managing your operations to this. And you can't, because now you got to follow the regulations. You got to follow either Regulation D, which has a limitation of 2,000 shareholders. So please hear this one out. Limitation of 2,000 shareholders. That's 2000, and including if you had a Reg S, it's 2,000. So the question then really is, what is the benefit of tokenization if you can only have 2,000 investors? Now, if you're institutional investors, there's only one. It makes a lot of sense. But if you are, going after accredited investors, the numbers go far really quickly. So this is the kind of thing that you will be discovering this week. And hopefully in our panel with our buddy Douglas Ruark, as my alarm is going off here. Gotta love this. Douglas, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Oscar. Well, first of all, we got a really, really good panel coming up. We've got some really, really experienced people here. And so I'm excited to get them on board. And this panel, really, I think what we're going to do is we are going to chat a little bit about the regulations. As Oscar said, that really is where it starts. And then from there, we're going to start talking about kind of the differences between commercial real estate and residential. We'll get into kind of the legal difference between those. And then we'll start talking about the process for online capital formation. And then we're going to work the token angle in, because tokens are a hybrid security. They are now being used in terms of raising capital or providing liquidity for real estate assets. And so we're going to get some feedback from the panel on that. So it's going to be an interesting one. And we'll see Rafael as far as we'll close this out and get this one started.